Next on Cycle of Health, let's ride through the region with area doctors as our guide to meet people on their pursuit of happiness and healthiness. We'll swim with some young triathletes who won't let a degenerative disease slow them down, and walk with a diabetic who's turned her problem into a passion to help others. We'll meet a colon cancer survivor willing to try a new treatment and roll into the life of a woman with Alzheimer's. She's a 97-year-old who's sure to make you smile.
Cycle of Health is made possible by our members
and by BHL and BCG, offering a portfolio of insurance, risk management, and benefits services from consultants ready to provide solutions to your unique business challenges. BHLinsurance.com and BCGCNY.com. And by Eye Plastic and Reconstructive Surgeons of Central New York. Doctors Bersani, Hill, and Carruth specialize in cosmetic, facial, and eyelid rejuvenation, tailored to each patient in their new facility in Syracuse. Why not look as good as you feel? EyePlasticCNY.com. And by the Central New York Eye and Tissue Bank. Every year, hundreds of organ, eye, and tissue donors save and enhance lives of people right here in our region. You've been given the gift of life. You can give it back by enrolling in the New York State Donate Life Registry. More information at cnyetv.com.
Aging is inevitable. Memory loss, though, is not. So when Dr. Richard O'Neill's mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, frustration set in. How did he and his mom cope? And how can you? Let's join him on his journey as together they discover their cycle of health.
Going up that hill may look hard, but the hardest thing I've ever done is deal with my mom having Alzheimer's. Come on in and meet her.
There she is.
Oh! Oh, man! Wonderful. Oh, man.
Hi, sweetie.
Did you ever have
We're gonna have some lunch in a little while.
lunch?
Yeah, we're gonna have lunch.
Oh,
Yeah?
boy.
And then we have a little surprise planned. Do you know today's your 97th birthday?
97.
Today is your birthday. You're 97 today.
Today?
Yeah.
97?
97. Yeah, do you know
Whoa.
that? Happy birthday, sweetie.
Oh.
Happy birthday.
God. Yeah.
So, Dr. Brangman, this has been the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with in my life. And looking back on it, part of it was we had no idea what was really going on. My mother just seemed like she was extraordinarily difficult, like a 120-pound toddler having a temper tantrum at times.
Well, that's really the essence of what's going on, because oftentimes the adult parent doesn't have the insight to realize that they need help.
Yeah.
The adult child is going through a role reversal where they have to help their parents, and they've never done it before.
Yeah, we encountered unexpected things like my mother suddenly telling us the neighbor was stealing her clothes, or somebody came in my house and stole my Jell-O. And it was like, this doesn't make sense,
Right.
but we didn't know how to manage it until we got really to understand, oh, she's really having a problem with her brain here. This
Right.
is not just, you know, she's getting difficult.
Right.
Here comes your lunch. Whoop. It's okay, don't worry about it. It's okay, sweetie. Here comes your lunch. We'll do that in a minute.
Probably the most important thing that I listen for when I'm making the diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease or another dementia is the slow onset of it. It's very subtle. Families may think things are happening fast, but when we make the diagnosis, they look back and say, you know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, we did notice something, but we didn't pay much attention to it.
That's exactly what happened for us. One of the first signs that we had that my mom was having Alzheimer's, looking back, was she was terrified of taking the train. And we thought she was just being difficult because she'd done it her whole life. But actually, she was terrified because when she got into Penn Station to come on the train, she was totally disorganized. She couldn't figure out, where do I go? We couldn't figure out what it was.
So activities that used to be second nature become very difficult, especially if they have lots of different layers of decision making. And things that we used to do really without thinking and take for granted become very immobilizing. Going into a busy train station, there's so many things you have to filter out and other things you have to focus on. The brain may not be able to figure that out anymore.
And they're not just being difficult, the brain just can't do it anymore. My mother has been extraordinarily active and lived 10 years past anybody else in her family. She likes to keep active, she reads. Are those kinds of things useful for somebody who already has Alzheimer's?
Well, I think you have to take a cue from the person with dementia. So some people may be going through the physical process of flipping through a book or a newspaper, but their brain may not be retaining the information. But it doesn't mean they shouldn't go through that activity.
They might enjoy it anyway.
They might enjoy it. But I don't want caregivers to think that they have to make someone do something, and that way that makes them better or keeps them from getting worse. So I see a lot of caregivers take on that responsibility that isn't warranted by the current science we know. And then they feel that if they don't do something, then they are making their loved one get worse.
Too many feet of snow. You know, in the mountains, a lot more snow. Then in the mountains, a lot more.
Are there resources for care providers?
Being a caregiver of somebody with Alzheimer's disease or another dementia is actually the most stressful caregiving of all caregiving.
That's been my experience.
More stressful than people taking care of a loved one with cancer or a stroke or anything else. I always tell our caregivers they're eating for two. And if they don't take care of themselves, then two people go down.
So take care of yourself so you can take care of the other person really first.
That's exactly right. So there are caregiver support services.
One of the things, Dr. Brangman, that's been so concerning in our family is now my mother has Alzheimer's, my uncle has Alzheimer's, all of the kids are now worried I'm going to get Alzheimer's.
So if you have a first-degree relative, meaning a parent or a brother or a sister with Alzheimer's disease, your chances are a little bit higher than the general population, but it's not 100%. And it looks like that lifestyle can be a big factor in how our brains survive into old age.
So the kinds of things that might help prevent Alzheimer's are a healthy diet, regular exercise, anything else?
Well, I think it's important for people to realize that they don't have to become a marathon runner or bench press 500 pounds, but our bodies were made to move, and the more you keep moving as you get older, the better you're going to be in the long run. Whatever helps the heart also helps the brain, because we're dealing with a set of organs that are all connected. And they're connected by nerves and blood vessels that need to be healthy in a very similar way.
Back up. Oh, very good. Terrific.
So my mother is now 97, and her brother is 94, so the odds are I'm going to live into my 90s. So I want to think ahead, plan ahead, and start to behave to keep that Alzheimer's at bay.
Well, we plan for so many other things in our life. We plan how to get through elementary school to high school. We plan how we're going to start a career or a family. This is another phase of life, and we need to plan for it.
He'll be back tomorrow.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah.
It's so amazing to see Mrs. O'Neill spry in spite of that illness. Now head to our website, WCNY.org, for more information about Alzheimer's, including a new study that confirms Dr. Brangman's statement that our lifestyle choices indeed can affect change. Now, for Marisol Hernandez, each day is a fight against diabetes. Each meal is a battle for nutritional balance. Each jog is a race to keep herself alive and medicine-free. Dr. Maritza Alvarado caught up with Marisol and shows us how her good habits can benefit us all.
You know, knowing that your mom was a diabetic, how did you come to your diagnosis? What were some of the things that were going on with you?
When my mom got sick and she eventually had a stroke, I didn't really take care of myself. I was taking care of her a lot and working full-time. I was not working out at all, and it wasn't healthy.
So when did you realize that you needed to make a change?
My doctor told me for years that I was a pre-diabetic.
There's a category espoused by the American Diabetes Association in which there's pre-diabetes, which means that blood sugar between 100 and 125 is considered pre-diabetes. So that those patients are more at risk.
So it wasn't until she said, you are a diabetic, and she put me on pills, on medication, that I told her, look, this is what I'm doing. What am I doing wrong?
Did you keep a journal before and then meet the dietitian and look for changes, or how did that work for you?
I tested before eating. I tested after eating, 2 hours after eating. I kept the log of what I was eating and drinking and how I was exercising, what kind of exercise I was doing. I went back to the doctor. My A1Cs were 5.3, which was great. And she took me off the medication.
Okay.
And I went crazy. I'm like, my levels are gonna go high again. How am I gonna do these? So I met with my dietitian again, and she gave me a brochure about the YMCA pre-diabetes program. So it was a 16-week commitment. We had to meet once a week with a group of other participants. And the first time they said that if you lose 7% of your body weight, you could offset the diagnosis of diabetes or reverse it.
You don't have to lose like 40 or 50 pounds, but if you lose 7% of your body weight, which is manageable goal, then that will improve your blood sugars dramatically, and also may improve your blood pressure.
That was the changer for me. I finished that program 2 years ago. I have been able to stay within my grams of fat. I'm able to control what I do, eat or not eat, and I have been without medication for almost 2.5, 3 years now. I became a facilitator of the program because I wanted to share what I benefited from. I just told you I'm committed to do 7% again, and I can't wait because summer's gonna be awesome. Right? There's a lot of misconceptions, and a lot of older people in our Latino community have misconceptions that they pass to their children and grandchildren. And the same thing with, that baby is too skinny. Okay, the baby's healthy. He doesn't need to gain weight. When you learn that there are things that you could do different that could help your health, and you feel that you have more energy, you could spend more time with your family, you could do more things, and you feel great about doing things with them, it's easier. All of you are in the pre-diabetes stage, which you are at a stage where you could make the changes now and then prevent that from happening or delay it hugely. So you have to find what motivates you, what keeps you going. Teaching this motivates me to kind of keep learning and keep figuring out the best way to deal with my diagnosis and stay healthy and stay within the numbers I need to stay so that I don't get medication. By doing the things that are right for us, then we could give to others what we want to give to them, right?
Marisol's 16-week diabetes prevention class runs out of the Southwest YMCA at Onondaga Community College. Now you can click on WCNY.org for more information about that class, the Jocelyn Center for Diabetes, and of course other sources of diabetes information. Now, next up, we can't fix our health issues if we don't know anything's wrong. That's why those annual exams are so very important. Early detection is key, And the right treatment is too, as Dr. George Stanley was very much reminded when cancer knocked on the door of his childhood home.
When this whole colon cancer thing came up, what do you remember about it?
Well, I thought that there's nobody in my family ever had cancer, both from my mother's side and my father's side. And I was in denial for a long time. No, this doesn't happen to me. No way, you know. I'm healthy. I've never missed a day in school. I walked 5 miles a day. I never took any medication, and I felt that I was pretty healthy.
When we got to your visit after surgery, when you were having your staples taken out and that sort of stuff, we had a discussion with your surgeon about, you know, treatments and things that you would need afterwards.
Well, I think there was a research going on, and Dr. Cherny was the one that had recommended for me doing the research. They sent out a brochure in the mail as to what my feelings were and how I was able to survive the operation, and it worked out very well.
What was unique about your mom is that she agreed to participate in a clinical trial. There was a not yet approved oral drug. It went by the initials UFT. It had had some trials in Japan that looked very encouraging. And so that was offered to your mom.
That was an adjustment to a certain degree, because a woman who her whole life has been healthy has never had to do anything with respect to her health, has a diagnosis of a very difficult and sometimes life-ending disease, and she had to do an experimental medication that had just come out on the market.
The number of patients that actually enroll in clinical trials is unfortunately small. It's 10% or less. So those that truly would be eligible, only 10% nationally enroll. And even a smaller percentage represent minority populations, so they're clearly underrepresented in all these trials that are reported. So to have your mom, a woman, African American, participate in a clinical trial was huge, and showed that she was willing to help. You know, she was putting herself second, and benefit of learning something for the benefit of somebody else down the road ahead of her own needs was really huge. And I thank her for that, and we try to get more patients enrolled in trials all the time.
But it was just nice to know that I was maybe one of the guinea pigs that had been able to take the old medicine without having to go through the chemotherapy. So it worked out very well. And I think this is important for any black woman who is diagnosed with cancer, and hopefully that she will be able to get diagnosed very quickly without having to go through that. It's now going to be spread all over her body, and I think this is important.
Why do you think that particularly patients of color, African American, Hispanic, are very reluctant or hesitant to do new sort of therapies or to do clinical trials?
I think that there is a degree of mistrust in the medical profession, and others' reluctance to participate in clinical trials cuts across all color lines, all age groups. The thought of getting involved in something that hasn't been proven, we're not really sure what the side effects are and so on, can be a major obstacle. And that thought of, geez, I'm just a guinea pig, not realizing that a lot of this has already been tested at multiple levels, and there is some safety built into the whole clinical trial scenario for them. So I think there's a mistrust, a fear about that.
The medicine Mrs. Stanley took to fight colon cancer is now approved for everybody's use, thanks in part to her willingness to participate in that medical trial. Now, getting the kids off the couch, away from the TV or their smartphones can sure be a challenge for many parents. Exercise is good for both healthy kids and those less able. One trick to get all kids moving: allow them the chance to compete. Dr. John Parker introduces us now to two brothers who, despite their degenerative disease, tackled a triathlon.
The Willis boys are twin boys who carry a diagnosis of Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is a progressive disease that increases disability as time goes on. And their lifespan is a little shorter than ours, but they've been feeling every minute of it.
It affects 1 in 3,500 male births annually. Typically, these boys lose their ambulation between the ages of 10 and 12, and their life expectancy is in the early 20s. There's a lot of medical needs, there's a lot of traveling. Through this clinical trial that we've been involved with, we're hoping to extend these boys' lives and improve their quality of life as well.
Swimming.
It's really disappointing seeing other people do stuff that I can't do, and this race allows me to do something that a lot of other people can do, so it's kind of a relief because most of the things that my friends can do I can't do, so it's kind of fun to be out there with everybody else. I'm kind of sad that I can't do stuff with other kids, but like Jack said, I'm excited to do this because other people can do this.
They had an opportunity to become triathletes today for the first time ever. And we've rounded up some really talented athletes that care a lot about our cause and care a lot about my boys, and they've volunteered their time and their athleticism to have them, to afford them the opportunity for this experience which they would otherwise not have.
We're here today. We assembled a crew to race two twins with Duchenne muscular dystrophy around the Skinny Man Triathlon course and give them the triathlon experience. I'm a board member of the 2 Smiles, 1 Hope Foundation, and Kristen Rowe had seen an article about athletes serving athletes in Maryland, and I kind of thought of the idea, why don't we do that here? And Jack and Nolan Willis were the perfect candidates to race because they're young, they wanted to do it, and they wanted to be a part of it. I thought that the Skinny Man a perfect venue to allow them to race. And I think by the looks on their faces, it seems like they had a pretty good time. So.
It's really gratifying. It's good to be able to help them and give them a day of being an athlete just like everybody else here.
Nothing is impossible. If you find some other people to help you along the way, that it's just a matter of teamwork and putting your minds together to get it done, and anything can be done. Nothing should stop anybody from doing what they want to do.
This type of phenomenon of racing folks with special needs at triathlons and/or road races is going to become more popular, and there are more opportunities for folks with special needs to do these things. And through organizations like Athletes Serving Athletes, things like that we've done, hopefully we're going to involve and include more people in these races that might not have the opportunity to do it.
It was a really fun time, and we're looking forward to doing another one. We are actually talking about going out to do the Boston Marathon.
I think the lesson of the disabled athlete is the lesson for all of us, and that is make every day count and do everything that you can each day to live the life you want to live. A race like this with the Willis twins, it's a great day for the twins, but it's not just for the twins, it's for the people that get to help them and for the people that they get to inspire. Every race has fast athletes and less fast athletes. And I think the lesson that it teaches all of us is it doesn't matter how fast you race. It matters that you're out trying to race. And I think when able-bodied athletes see those boys out there racing, it's inspirational for everybody. It gives you goosebumps. They're doing their best to do what they can every day.
Don't let this disease take you down. Do what you want to do and live life the way you want to live it.
Jack and Nolan hope to join in the Skinny Man fun again next year. In fact, their mom says they're all set to compete in at least 3 more athletic events. They also are part of a medical trial to help them cope with their Duchenne muscular dystrophy. For more information, you can head to the National MD website or log on to the 2 Smiles, 1 Hope website. Now that's a foundation that Jack and Nolan's parents set up to help others battling the same disease. Thanks so much for coming along on this edition of Cycle of Health. We'll see you again with more stories of people making the most of their ride through a life filled with happiness and good health.
Cycle of Health is made possible by our members
and by BHL and BCG, offering a portfolio of insurance, risk management, and benefits services from consultants ready to provide solutions to your unique business challenges. BHLinsurance.com and BCGCNY.com. And by Eye Plastic and Reconstructive Surgeons of Central New York. Doctors Bersani, Hill, and Carruth specialize in cosmetic, facial, and eyelid rejuvenation, tailored to each patient in their new facility in Syracuse. Why not look as good as you feel? EyePlasticCNY.com. And by the Central New York Eye and Tissue Bank. Every year, hundreds of organ, eye, and tissue donors save and enhance lives of people right here in our region. You've been given the gift of life. You can give it back by enrolling in the New York State Donate Life Registry. More information at cnyetb.com.